To Adjust Inc. presents If Testimony Was a Person, the podcast where we talk to all kinds of professionals about their journey and how the personal intersects with the professional. And today we have a guest that I've known for a while, someone who um, I regard highly, particularly because of your sense of purpose that you have about a lot of things. Um, he's a banker, um, community engagement banker, um, entrepreneur, owns businesses, coached and taught a lot of people things that I think are important, and someone who's a speaker and will grow into that lane more. I want you to meet Mr. Rich Tavarez. Greetings.
Thank you. Thanks so much. And I appreciate that, putting that out there into the universe. It's definitely something I'm passionate about. It's like one of those things, ironically, your passions don't ever come easy. So, like, you might be passionate, but then you get nervous. But then you have to push through the nervousness. And then after you do it, then you're like, oh, man. But thank you. Yeah, the speaking and, great, grateful to be here. I've seen some of your shows, had some cool guests on there as well.
Well,
Mentors, friends of mine. So thanks for having me, brother.
oh man, it's a pleasure. So, you are a Long Islander now, but you hail from Washington Heights.
Yeah, absolutely. My wife likes to joke on me. So I was born in Washington Heights. We moved to Long Island when I was in first grade. So I grew up in Elmont. But like my family still stayed there. So I was always there on the weekends. You know, my wife likes to be like, nah, bro, you're like totally Long Island. But yeah, well, I did grow up in Long Island. I did stay connected to like, I'd say my roots in Washington Heights.
Yeah, well, when Drake said started from the bottom, now we're here, right? The Long Island, in all seriousness, was a kind of arriving point for some families, like who wanted to maybe get their families out of the tougher areas where we were losing people to violence, etc. And
Mhm.
so Elmont was a pretty stable place in your upbringing, I imagine.
Yeah, I gotta say it was definitely it was a good spot because like when I remember in Washington Heights I couldn't really ride my bike, couldn't really be out in the street. My mother didn't
Mm-hmm.
want that, so it was kind of cool to get to Long Island and be able to like ride your bike around. But almost kind of interesting because it's definitely been through a lot of phases. So when I would say when we first got there, probably like in the mid '80s, it was. Wasn't I would say as diverse as it is now,
Yeah.
which was great. So it was nice kind of to be able to witness that and see the projection. But definitely a big change from the Heights. As much as I love my Heights, but at least for me, I definitely and my brother got a lot more freedoms.
Yeah, yeah. It's an interesting dynamic because you know my father was a boxer, not by a real profession, but he boxed
You could box.
and I feel like I'm streetwise and everything, but when I look at myself, I kind of feel like I am a person that I have safety trauma. Like I don't want to live anywhere where like people might be scheming on me or people might be doing something right across the street that I think is you know shady. So I think a lot of us kind of have that, and being in a place where, like you referenced, you could play in the park, and you can have that space. I understand it, and likewise, I have love for my community and where I came from in Brooklyn and Queens, but I definitely get it, in that regard. So you grew up in Elmont, and so what high school did you go to?
I went to Elmont Memorial High School.
Elmont Memorial.
Yeah, yeah, Elmont Spartans.
Uh, we have kind of a connection with Dr. Cox at Elmont Memorial, Miss Williams, the whole um, school psychology, the social
All right.
workers, the administration there has been very supportive of what we do, and they probably would say we've been supportive of their students in terms of counseling, et cetera. Yeah,
Oh
so there's that
man.
connection.
That's
So
awesome.
Elmont, and then so how would you describe your being raised in Elmont? Like, what things stand out for you?
Um, keeping it real, Alma was an interesting place because it had a lot of diversity, which was great. And then in comparison to the school districts, because it's right, like you have Elmont, Sewantica, Floral Park, New Hyde Park. So it was very, very interesting because we feel and then you had Cary also that I would say, at this time had some diversity. But growing up with Elmont in Elmont, I think it was just a life changing experience because of the level of diversity. I when we graduated, they said there were like 49 different nationalities represented,
Wow.
and it was amazing because whether someone, a young girl was wearing a hijab or someone else was wearing something different, we all loved MTV. We all
Yeah.
kind of, and I even got to learn like little nuances, like certain households. You walk in, you take your shoes off, and so I'd say growing up, it was a tremendous blessing. It wasn't perfect. Like growing up with a disability, of course, you get bullied, you get made fun of. You could get into a fight here and there. But all in all, I would say I'm really grateful. I feel like it was just the perfect balance of everything. Between the diversity, between the teachers, and then I guess as far as what the experience was like, it was interesting because then you go to like Rockville Center or you go to like Southside, and the schools were like three times as big. So it was just, I think,
Mm-hmm.
if I was to sum it up, like the diversity, but then how it related to Long Island, right? Because as we know, like Long Island has diverse pockets, sometimes not as diverse. So it was interesting, I guess, growing up there and being at the focal point, and then when you do branch out to other towns, seeing the difference. So, not to like go off on a tangent, but all in all, I think it was an invaluable experience just for the interaction with people, the adversity that I faced,
Mm-hmm.
um, but then the benefit, like you mentioned, streetwise, learning how to deal with real, how to, there's a certain thing being able to walk in the hallways, and it's a very safe school, but still you could get into a fight, you could get like a side swipe, you know what I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
punch. So you kind of did grow up respecting, like you said, safety
Mm-hmm.
and the contrast, because like now, like my son, he would go to school in flip-flops, and I'd be like, when I was growing up, you could wear flip flops. What if something went down? You got to be able to like hustle and bustle. So I think Elmont for me was just the perfect balance of so many valuable lessons for life, and big part of why I'm here.
Great. And so right after, for first of all, what's your physical challenge that you refer to?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I was born with a physical disability. I mean, my hands are super small, probably like the size of maybe like a 10-year-old's. And then just the lack of mobility, and it just looks different. Like even you'll notice if you're shaking my hand or something, it's different. So it's a just physical disability that I grew up with. Interestingly enough, there was never called anything. No doctor ever said it was. It was just one of those things. But definitely, I think a integral part of my life.
Does it affect your writing, or what does it affect physically for you?
Um, it definitely affects my writing, affects the way I hold the pen, affects like if you think of like things where you need to be able to grip, doing pull ups, pulling things, even like unloosening jars and stuff like that. All of that comes into play, um, and yeah. So
That kind of stuff. Okay.
hmm hmm
I mean, it's interesting and it's important because it makes you in some way who you are because you came up with this disadvantage which wasn't devastating to you, and you're still able to accomplish a whole lot and affect a whole lot of people's lives, I would say, for the better. And that's wonderful. So, right after uh, Elmont Memorial, what do you do?
So right after I'm at Memorial, I had a couple of jobs. I went to Malloy College
Malloy.
for a few semesters. Had a bunch of different jobs. Because growing up, it was something where we definitely had money, we never went hungry. But certainly in terms of like, you go to school, there's those pressures to have the baller sneakers or
Yeah.
like the nice clothes or everything like that. So meaning like the reason that ties into is right after Elmont, I was just looking for different jobs, different opportunities to make money while going to school, and then went to Malloy, and then in between the age of 18 and 19, I must have had like 9 different jobs. And not because I was like quitting. I was really trying to figure myself out. I was trying to figure out what I liked. You're in public. You're like, the public drives me crazy. Then you go to a call center and you're like, oh my God, sitting down and not being able to move around. So I was learning different things. So right after that, but that culminated up to get an opportunity to work in the bank. So while going to school, I was had the opportunity. I started off with Fleet Bank, and was working there in the West Hempstead branch, which is like right on the border
Did
of
Fleet
West Hempstead
become
and Hempstead.
BOA?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Fleet
I
became Bank
remember
of
that.
America. So
So many changes over the years with the names of these institutions. I mean, you got to have like a sharp memory. I remember WAMU. I remember all
oh
these
yeah.
different little, entities. And so while going into banking, did you ever feel you had a passion for banking?
So it's interesting. It wasn't banking specifically that I had the passion of. Growing up, my dad was a financial advisor. So what I got from that is funny what your kids get from things. I got from that was like, man, he would take clients out to things, take clients
Uh,
out to games, and he would bring me along, and I'd be like, oh my God, this guy has like the dopest job ever. Like, it's literally just taking people out and being out there and smoothing, being smooth with people, being helpful. And so I didn't know banking, but I knew I liked dealing with the public and seeing him, and I knew that that just kind of image sounded cool.
yeah.
The potential to just really be your work is hanging out with people, having great conversations, having a good time.
Essentially being a people person. Like,
Yeah.
I can really change people's lives for the better by just partially by just being with them. And then, while I'm being with people, I give them a little bit of what I know and some advisement that ends up being something that they'll probably talk about years later. Are you a financial advisor also?
Me, no, I never went down that path.
Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about. I want to go back into your entrepreneurial years, but I also want to know what do you do now in banking?
Awesome. So right now I'm with Jovia Financial Credit Union. So I'm a community relations officer. So what that role is really twofold. That's how we develop a relationship out there with our community. Are we out there? What organizations are we partnering with? So everything that has to do with the external community side, but then the other angle is the internal. So we've got an organization of over 500 people. I'm also responsible for engaging that organization, creating programs, creating opportunities for to leverage that, right? Because you can go and support an organization with 1 or 2 people, and that's great. But if you can leverage a huge organization where we can get 20, 30 people,
Oh yeah.
40 people out there, help build a house, help something. So really, the role is being out there in the community, building those relationships, and finding programs that are impactful. So one of the things that I love about my boss is the question is always, does it make an impact? Right? Is it really making an impact? So how can we? It's easy to kind of write a check and go to galas, and all that is important because this money raised for good things. But how can we really make an impact? Whether it's financial literacy, whether it's bringing someone from the organization that looks like the community to speak to that part of the community and help build them up and help empower them by sharing their information. So those are the opportunities. So it's external community relations, and then leveraging the internal side and making sure that the culture existed long before I got there of community, which is part of why I
Yeah.
went there. But now it's really keeping that going and making it relevant, and getting the team members out there, because the cool part is I don't necessarily have any formal authority to tell anybody to go to any event. So I feel it's great because it's really about building relationships, making it valuable, and making sure that these are opportunities that people are going to go to and feel empowered and
Yeah.
feel the need to want to continue that desire to contribute. So external and internal community relations.
Yeah, it's really something because I think that people don't really understand what a community engagement person does. I mean, even the community engagement officers who are with the police department or in a bank or any institution, people are like, oh, that's maybe that's just something that is a formality the companies have to do. But you actually
Mm.
do a lot of important stuff, and I've heard you talk about how you really feel a sense of connectedness to important causes. So you say some of the things, let's say, and you don't have to mention any organizations if you don't want to, but say some of the things that you've done in your role that you've been proud of.
Oh man, definitely. I'd say quite a few. There was one because community relations, right, is different components. There's the education and their empowerment, and then there's just maybe creating opportunities that they may necessarily have access to. So last year there was a cool event where we took two community organizations, one for children struggling with terminal illness, another one for children from underserved neighborhoods. We partnered with a local amusement park, and that amusement park was part of the process. So they donated tickets, and we made sure to pay for the food because you go to an amusement park, it's not just getting in, it's parking, it's
Mm-hmm.
food, or do you bring your own food? Like what we
Yeah.
used to do. But anyway, that was one cool thing because we created just a beautiful day. Your average family going to an amusement park, 500, 600, $700 out here might have to double take, even myself, like, hey, so to be able to kind of take all that out there and this organization, and these are families that are struggling already, and for them to just be able to go and have a beautiful day and
Right, and not have to worry about the cost or
have to
yeah.
worry, they connected with each other, they empowered each other, like there was just so much good feedback. So that was one of the ones that I was excited about. And then there have been quite a few that we're doing with youth. So we're partnering with different organizations to help empower the youth, whether that's in financial literacy, whether that's in entrepreneurship or careers. Because one of the big things I feel growing up as a minority is representation is important. So like we were talking outside, the it's one thing when you see someone get into a certain role, but when you see someone potentially that looks like you, that maybe has a similar background, maybe had similar struggles, and you see them in that role and they're giving you advice, sometimes that resonates 10 times more. Like I grew up listening to Brian Tracy and, Jim Rohn and
Mm.
Stephen Covey, but then I met my boy Burt Lurch, and all of a sudden seeing a real life person, an entrepreneur giving me
Mm.
great advice, I that was 10 times more believable. That was like, wow, I could really do that, and so as far as community, there was one, right, where we're creating an awesome opportunity. Then there's another where we're educating and really empowering, and because, right, that could make an impact for a generation. I didn't think I could be a bank SVP like my boss, right? I didn't think I could be VP of marketing, but look, now she's out there, she's talking, she's sharing her
Mm.
story. Wow, you know what, man? That maybe I could go into that. So I'd say those are some of the really impactful things we're doing with the youth. And then the last one was, where we partnered with the LIE organization in Hofstra, and we did
Mm.
the entrepreneurship seminar for for everyone, of course, but with a focus on minority entrepreneurs. And again, empowering, getting us all together, sharing that information, sharing that education, and it's coming from people who look like the community. So I
Mm.
think those are some of the really awesome
That's
community things that
excellent.
we've been doing that I'm like
Yeah,
super excited
no,
about.
I would be proud of that too. That's great. And all right, so take me back a little bit. You left Elmont Memorial. You started in college. What did you do there?
So interestingly enough, I started in college. I never finished school. So what happened was I was in school, and at the same time, my career in banking is growing. Then my family is growing. So at the age of 24, I have the opportunity. I'm managing a banking center with Bank of America out there in Rockville Center. So I'm a financial center manager. We've got two kids at the time that we're raising, and then I'm a partner in a business with another business owner. So I just had to step out of school, put that on pause, like a lot of entrepreneurs do, and I never went back to finish school. So at that age of 24, then at the same time, I was a partner in a entrepreneurial business like leadership training, entrepreneurship training,
Yeah.
with a specific focus. Again, it was based out of Hempstead, and it was to get the information to our entrepreneurs in the community. So really, like after work, the passion was born out because being a banker, being able to work in different markets, you get to see different mindsets and different styles of execution, different beliefs, even just something as simple as, hey, do I want an accountant or a tax preparer? Right? Oh, well, 500, 750 for an accountant. Ooh, that's insane. Versus another business owner might be like, no, I see the value
Yeah.
in, having that. Yeah, it's an expense, but I know that being able to have access to my metrics and my key performance indicators, that's going to help me be successful. So, getting out there in this entrepreneurship business, that's what we were trying to do is connect the dots between the different communities and get that information out that maybe more affluent business owners were utilizing, and get that out there to the entrepreneurs in our community and mindset. So, um, while I didn't spend 50,000 in college, I easily spent 50,000 in personal development because um, just learning, investing 25,000 in a business. There's a lot of lessons that come with that. All these investments. Now you can go on YouTube and get like free personal programs. Years ago, when we were coming up, if you wanted a Brian Tracy or you wanted some good information, you had to invest 50, 75, $100 in that tape program. For the weekend, you go to the $2,000, $3,000
Mm-hmm.
seminar.
Mm-hmm.
So I invested easily 50,000 in that. I just at the time wasn't able to do it fully with school, but fortunately, I'm grateful for where I'm at.
So I wanted to comment on that because it's very notable that there are different ways to invest in yourself. And I remember going to Queens College. I got a bachelor's, went back and got a master's, and eventually I became licensed in mental health, which was I value all of that very much. But when I started the business, I wish that I had had someone like you around who could have may have given me a little bit of accounting advice or the financials or how to pay my employees, because early on starting a business, even though I wasn't that young, I got into a bunch of trouble because of stuff I didn't know with the IRS, with the Department of Labor, and that service of helping entrepreneurs with their dreams is very important, because many people get scared away from entrepreneurial pursuits because they don't want to end up in any problems with these, institutions that strike fear just hearing their names. Like, you don't even want to think about, the IRS saying that you're in trouble in some way. Just a quick story. I had a person from the IRS call me during the pandemic saying that I was missing some forms that would have indicated my payment register from when I first started the business. I mean, this woman was sounding like she said something like, usually we would be at your door. This is a phone call. It was during the pandemic, so they usually don't make phone calls. But it's just the idea that the people who it sometimes is who you talk to, because that problem that I had, this woman ended up not working for the IRS any longer, and someone else took the case and said, Mr. Sinkfield, you've been a very compliant taxpayer in the business for as long as I can see. If you didn't have employees at the time, simply write me a note saying that, and we'll put this behind us. And I was like, thank you. But in the meantime, there are people who can terrorize you. And so having people like what you would, well, are you still doing the advisement of entrepreneurs?
Oh yeah,
You're still doing that,
100%,
right?
definitely.
Okay. That is a great thing because we need you in our community, Rich. Thank you for that work.
Oh no, it's certainly a pleasure, and No, you bring up a fantastic point, and that's where, like, in the beginning, I used to think it was all just the data and the benchmarks, and that's what people needed to know. But mindset is like so important,
Mm-hmm.
so important. For instance, right, and just keeping it real, like I growing up, and just not just I would say Hispanic culture. There's a lot of cultures, but you grow up kind of saying like keep it quiet. Don't push the envelope. Take the
Yeah.
L. Better to take the L and just keep a low profile
Right.
and keep it moving. And then the beauty of the blessing of banking and working in all different markets. For many, many years, I was in Manhasset, Port Washington, seeing how those business owners dealt. But a mindset is so important. So, like you said, like that could be scary. And then you speak to another entrepreneur that don't pay them no mind, like do your
Mm-hmm.
thing. So, that's where that information is so important, and making sure that we have access to each other. And I think that's one of the activities that's important, like what we're trying to do in the LIE, the Long Island Elite Networking Group, where you've got this diversity, but how do we get there? You've got some major heavy hitters in the organization, and then you've got some newer entrepreneurs. So how do we connect that so that we could be a resource for each other? So when a situation comes like that, rather than like dealing with it by yourself, you have a network of people who can a lot of times be like, chill, you're okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's mental health things sometimes where people are like freaking out, and because of your knowledge, you're like, no, 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 take, hey, it'll be
Absolutely.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be, hey, this is how you do it. And then all of a sudden that changes, right? Our biochemistry, our whole reaction to a
Oh,
situation.
you
So
got a little therapist within you, changing the biochemistry. I mean, it is true. Stress comes with a chemical component, and if you can, get the amygdala to stop firing and calm down, it's a great thing. And as entrepreneurs, we definitely need that support. You know,
mm,
so give me a little bit about give me a little bit of detail in terms of the help that you have given to people over the years in your consulting role.
absolutely. So, one of my favorite stories, it spans, and but one of my favorite stories is my existing barbershop. Actually, they just closed like 2 months ago, but they were open for
Mm-hmm.
about 10, 15 years. So years ago, when I was in, West Hempstead, dealing with the Hempstead community, a group of individuals, all brand new to the country, because you were getting a lot of clients like that were brand new, just fresh, no social security numbers. But there was a group of individuals that I began to work with. I was with the bank 2, 3 years, and I had kind of gotten down on how to develop your credit. Being that you're constantly dealing with people brand new to the country. Well, credit is important. So how do you help them build their credit? So fortunately, there were some good products in the bank, like a secured card, secured loan, where as soon as you get your social at the time, you're able to immediately get that. Versus, right, if you try to go to like Macy's or somewhere else, a lot of people are
Mm.
like, we're not going to give you a card until you show us a card. So
Mm-hmm.
kind of like being able to help them through this, and then years later, homeowners, real estate entrepreneurs, these same individuals, business owners going to get a haircut. So, things as simple as that. But even helping, that was one thing that really made me proud of. There was another business that we were working with, even something just as simple as pricing, right? So, like, sometimes you think you need to get more sales, or you need more advertisement, or that's the issue for your like financial situation, versus like if your product is not effectively priced, or there's not like thought into, okay, what does it take to replace it to break even, and you're just going on
Mm.
price, the more sales can actually lead you deeper down the
Mm.
hole.
Yeah.
So that was another situation, and I think where a lot of the really nice stories came about was during the Paycheck Protection Program.
Yeah.
And that wasn't consultant per se, because I was working for the bank, so there wasn't anything, any exchange of money for any help with any clients on PPP. That was like anyone got that for free. But like with the Paycheck Protection Program, working with business owners and helping them arrange their documentation, helping them, come to the table with the right amount, and not like underselling themselves or not getting less than what they deserved. Those are the kind of things where that can make an impact on a generation. That can just not impact now, but leading that. And my favorite though is working with, I'd say, minority entrepreneurs. I love all entrepreneurs, but there's like I said, there's just something about sometimes different entrepreneurs who don't maybe have access. Even a peer group. I've spoken to some entrepreneurs where they're like, "Yeah, I'm the only business owner in my group." Can you imagine that? Then like if you're going through a struggle, who do you talk to? Or you're going through a struggle and your friends who don't own a business are like, "Psst, ditch the business, get a job." So as far as like working with business owners, those are the kinds of things that I've done that I've been most really proud of, getting them connected to resources. I don't want to be the only resource. I really want to make connections to other individuals
Mm-hmm.
so these individuals can grow and really get where they need to go. And, the mindset of a business owner. And then like, I admire like what you're doing, which would be like a cool business, the mental health aspect of it,
Yeah.
because, right, as a business owner, you can get all the financial information you need, man. And if you're getting home and you don't know how to jive with your kids, or you're like emotionally spent and you don't have tools to like recharge yourself before you go into the house to be who your family needs you to be. So anyway, we talk about like the business owners I'm excited about, but I think that would be one exciting channel, a business of, supporting entrepreneurs, not just financially with financial knowledge, but from a mental health standpoint, making sure that this is
I
good.
think in some way it's deeply connected though. Like if you're supporting people with knowledge that they need to conduct their business successfully, a lot of times it connects to those same people feeling a little bit better, realizing that maybe they don't have to work Friday until 8 p.m. anymore. Maybe they can work until 5, which will give them a little bit more time to connect. Maybe they can even pick up their son from school on Fridays, or
Mm.
and then pare it down a little bit, because over the years that's what I did. I mean, uh, I was here in this very room doing clerical and answering phones and calling back customers at like 8 in the morning, and I would not finish until 9 o'clock at night. This was around 2014, 2015. I had left my job
Mm.
and as a high school guidance counselor, and was doing this, and I was happy to be doing it. But now my kids are not babies, and they really need me there sometimes. I just had spring concerts. I just had all these events. My daughter's birthday's coming up. They need me around, and so I've been able to make it so that I can have that time. And I think
Mm.
that giving people a little that leg of confidence that they need helps people to get there. So even though it's not mental health help, in a sense, it connects to
Yeah.
it. You know.
110%.
Yeah. Yep. So that's it's great work, and So how many businesses over the years have you had?
Just four, between 4 and 5 businesses, currently. So I know you had Suchet on here, who's like a mega entrepreneur. I'm not at Suchet's, level. Love you, Sue. But between 4 and 5, and always
Mm-hmm.
looking for, for new ones to start. Definitely with a big focus on entrepreneurship. My passions are entrepreneurship. Not that I would have a business in it, but the other thing I'm super passionate about is neuroscience. Beyond. Like I'm hardcore junkie on it, and that would be a cool business to get into. I don't know how to
Mm.
start into that, but like, because right, all that ties into just mindset, stress. Um, Even myself, like struggling with. Sorry, I don't want to like. He's like he asked me one question and then I go
It's
like in a
okay.
totally different direction. But so yeah, I've owned 4 to 5 different businesses before. Previously, definitely with focuses on entrepreneurship. Um, I'm really interested now in again the neuroscience, but DE&I and minority entrepreneurship. So no thoughts yet, but definitely as far as kind of trying to arrange your passions for what the future could hold. The D&I side, and it all ties in. It all ties into mindset and perception and successful mental frameworks and strategies.
Yeah. If you were to start your own nonprofit that you were going to attack some important cause in the world. Do you know what that would be?
Yeah, definitely. For me, it would. I think it would be phase two of the business that we try to have. So, like the business where we were doing leadership consulting and entrepreneurship consulting. That was amazing. What happens is oftentimes the entrepreneurs that you really want to make a difference for, understandably can't. It's not in their budget. You know, they're busy doing other things. So being that we were in a for-profit model, I mean, we were doing like amazing things. Like we flew down to Kansas for this like crazy entrepreneurship program that was like taught
Mm.
out of like Yale and Harvard, and we brought that program to Hempstead. To teach entrepreneurs, it was like an 8-week program, so it was amazing. And like you were thinking about the potential. So if we were gonna do another business, I would do that maybe now, knowing what I know now, because this was like 15 years ago, have that as a nonprofit model so that you could really help the business owners. You could provide them the tools and services that are state of the art and world class, but the profitability constraints or aspects that you have to
Mm-hmm.
struggle with aren't there. You know, imagine where
Right.
you could even afford scholarships, like what you see, like where some of the big banks are doing. They'll have like fellowship programs and long training programs for organizations. That would be, I think, the kind of business where you did the financial training, but also like we were saying, the mental training. So like a huge focus on mental health and not running yourself into the ground, and really where you're the primary focus. Because what's interesting, if you think about it, the way life is, a bank utilizes the same way to give you a business loan. So think about this. Oftentimes, when people want a loan or business owners want a loan, they're like, "Don't look at me personally. Just put it on the business. I don't want anything to do with it. Just put it all on the business." What happens is, especially for the most of the conventional lending, it's always about the person. You're the personal guarantor. So
Yeah.
even if your business is, bumping and producing a lot, you're the personal guarantor. At the end of the day, I like to say, like, you're the bus driver. You're the one driving it. So the same way a bank is going to give you a business loan, where they are going to look at your business, but they're very concerned with who you are as a person and what your personal situation looks like. It's the same thing from the mental health standpoint of an entrepreneur. You know what I mean? So the same way a bank looks at an entrepreneur should look at that, like, man, I am the most important thing. My business can be bumping, but my mental health is not, there. If I don't have the proper strategies,
Mm-hmm.
if I don't have access to, help to adjust, so I could get these amazing strategies and get my head right and make sure I'm focusing on me, because your output in your business is going to be a lot better. So that would be the kind of business I think, a nonprofit version of where there's entrepreneurship as well as a huge focus and support for the mental health side. And even like you said, parenting, right? Because I'm sure you could tell us stories of having a business and also raising children at the same time. I mean,
Yeah.
much respect.
Yeah. Well, thank you, man. And may I add that you did the right thing by starting young as a parent. You were How old were you when you first became a parent?
Oh man, I was 20. I was 22.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, started real young.
I had my kids late in life. I have to try to keep in shape because I'm gonna be granddad age by the time my kids are 20.
Hey, funny, you don't look it though. Looking
Thank you,
good.
man.
I want to tell you I appreciate you having me here. Definitely, thank you. It's I was really excited to be a part of this because it's unique. Like I've been in parts. There seems to be so much mental health in other areas, but there's all these different aspects and patterns and mindsets that are built into all cultures. So like I really like applaud what you're all doing. I could definitely say, as a person who 10 years ago wasn't as concerned about my mental health versus now, like the immense value that you provide to the community, and you provide to individuals, and you're probably impacting way more people than you even ever get to like be told. But much respect. I'm grateful to be a part of this. If I could ever help out, I mean, I know we're going to be collaborating or finding ways, because we're
Absolutely.
all just trying to like make a difference. But all in all, I'm really grateful to be here, and I think it's a great opportunity for everyone, for the audience. Mental health is critical. Physical health is critical, and we've all, especially as men, we've all have so many responsibilities. I mean, men and women have a lot of responsibilities. Each has their own unique way and unique biochemistry and how they're dealing with it, and it's amazing to have support. So definitely, seek the resources. You've got one right here. But I appreciate being a part of the show, man.
Well, listen, man, you're far too kind. Thank you for those beautiful words. I mean, I do think we make a difference, and I'm grateful to be able to make a difference. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Rich Tavarez, um, you know, banker, community advocate, passionate about many causes, and just all around good person. Thank you, sir. If people want to reach out to you, how can they get you on your socials or whatever your preferred mode?
I'd say probably the easiest is LinkedIn. Rich Tavarez, that's my favorite, but certainly I'm on Facebook and Instagram also. But Rich Tavarez, so T is in Tom, A, V is in Victor, Arez on LinkedIn. So Rich Tavarez on LinkedIn, and you'll see it there under Jovia. That's the best way. I check that. Hit me up if there's anything I can do to help out. I'm here definitely, and on Instagram, it's Seeking Wisdom One. So SEEKING Wisdom One, because I'm always just trying to learn. So that's where that name comes from.
All right, cool. If testimony was a person, we're about to sign off. You can find us as the Help to Adjust podcast on from everywhere from YouTube to Instagram to Facebook, etc. And we will connect again soon. Peace and love.